Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Son of a Blitch podcast. I'm here with Matthew Mitchell and Danny Way, and we are about to go do some serious hunting at our Central Texas ranch. It is the peak of the rut, and we have been working on this for how long?
All year.
I mean, it's been crazy. Like we've probably about once a month we get out here and we get all sorts of work done. I mean, we've spent numerous hours on the tractor mowing these fields. Of course, every time there's something that happens where we're fixing, feeders and we're fixing the tractor, but everything is completely dialed in. I mean, we've, I think my buddy Jacob the other day when he came out here, he's like, well, the mower's working. I mean, it is like the fields are ready to go. And, this is what we look for. It's what we wait for the entire year is this hunt. So I'm pretty excited about this. What about you, Uncle Danny?
I am excited about it. Of course, I enjoy the mowing myself. I enjoy coming out and spending a whole weekend on that tractor and making this ranch look beautiful. But the feeders are all working good. The camera's working good. And there's some big boys out here waiting for us.
Yes, there is. We probably got, I think, about 5 shooter bucks this year. Got at least 3 that are mature at the 5.5 or older age class is what usually we're waiting to shoot. There's a couple that are about 4.5 years old that kind of, we determine those as culls. They're really not the best rack. Maybe they're really small, or maybe there's a lack of brow tines, whatever it may be that we determine for each one. But we got about 5 of those. The hogs just showed back up on camera last night, so we're hoping to see those. We got 5 of them running around. We've seen them a few times when we've been out here working. We jumped them up the other day. They were in some low kind of creek beds cooling down in the middle of the day. Uncle Danny and I were driving around with the family, and we saw those jump up. They stayed on the other neighbor's pasture, so we didn't really get a shot off, but we knew
they were faster than we were, that's for sure.
This time, but not anymore. Now we got about 2,000 feet per second faster with our
that's right.
Our rifles. We had our pistols out last time. We jumped out of that Polaris real fast and went after them, but they never crossed in front of us.
I got to say, too, we've set the stage. I mean, we arrived, we put the guns up down the shooting range. I mean, we all sat in the little platform on the shooting range, and everybody's hitting the target at 100, 200, and if you're George, 300. And we're really excited. We haven't made much noise. Like I said, we just got here, and that's what's really exciting is that we're trying to get on the mic right now to talk about the excitement level that's been building over this last year, all the work we put into it. And now we can actually kind of reap a little bit of the benefit and just come out here and relax and get away from, city life and whatever else, and this is a natural environment, and this is what's the most fun to be in right now.
Absolutely. And the texting we've been doing between the 3 of us for the past 2 weeks has been fun too, because every time new pictures come up on our telephones, we talk about what deer we're seeing, and we've talked about what stands we're going to sit in, and it's been exciting. It's been exciting for me just looking at that stuff and talking to you guys about it.
Yeah, it goes right into the management too. I mean, we all have iPhones, so we're sharing a note on Notepad that has all the picture of the particular bucks that are available or on the list, or however you want to say it, and then obviously there's the pigs that George referenced earlier. So
that's called the no excuse list.
The no excuse list.
They
exactly.
show up.
Yeah.
So if you see one, you got to look at that iPhone to make sure we're shooting the right ones. That's always a little nerve wracking because depending on whether a deer's in the down position eating, or if it's sideways, or if it's looking straight at you, I got to see one for a little while to make sure it's the right deer and it's the one we want to take. But George spoke about the cull bucks, and they eat just as good as the big bucks.
They
so
sure as heck do.
We're going to take them down.
They also chase the does just as good too.
They sure do.
We are here during the rut, and that's what's really interesting too right now. Warm weather. It's going to be cold later, but I mean, doesn't really matter. I feel like the rut can trump all.
Absolutely. And we were talking about the fact that these last, we have these cellular game trail cameras, right? So we have some that work all the time, some that, maybe they'll go off if we don't have the best signal or whatever, but they're still taking pictures. So later on tonight, we'll go around after this hunt and we'll grab all the SD cards and look through those. But a lot of the ones that we're seeing out there, there's not a lot of the bucks that we've been seeing for weeks previous. They're not out there every day, because sometimes you'd see them and it's like, oh, yep, 3 target bucks at 3 different stands.
Well, Matt and I were talking about this earlier, and I think the reason we may not be seeing them at the feeders is because they're out chasing does right now.
Absolutely.
And hopefully that's the case.
I think that is. I really do. This is, they say November 11th for Central Texas is the peak of the rut. Usually you have kind of that, they're chasing a little bit before that. So, that kind of week before we're here, it's November 9th. And, we never know what we're going to see out here when it's rut time. And you could be out there in the middle of the day and see them and running around. So I'm excited to get out there. We're usually getting the stands, a couple hours before sunset. Today we might, extend that by about 30 minutes or an hour. Get about 3 hours in the stand. And, during rut activity, as a lot of people know, it could be any time. It could be all day. A lot of times you're packing sandwiches or whatever it is, and you're just sitting, in that stand because you don't know what's going to walk through at any point in time. And while we have those 5, shooter bucks that are on the target list, you never know what's going to show up here. And we also have seen a lot of melanistic deer that come through here. We know that there's a mature melanistic. There's some bucks that we've seen in previous years. And we just never know if they're going to show up. I mean, the story goes with a lot of different places. Someone will shoot a buck, and then you have no reference because it's never been on camera before, and you just never know what's going to pop out. And that's what's great. I mean, we've seen things like emu out here. Obviously, we've had some of the neighbors' cattle and stuff too that have shown up in the past, but you just really do not know what's going to come out. We've seen some cool foxes on camera recently, and that's something that is fairly new for here. I mean, we've probably the last few years we've seen some at a more regular basis, but previous to that, I didn't see him for the previous 10 years.
Yeah, and he's been out every night, I think. Yeah.
And we're not going after the foxes. I think the 3 of us here, some people may go after those and things like bobcats too. We just love seeing them. I know right now we're charging our cameras. I just looked down. I got a green light on my camera battery over here. We're always going out there and with our cameras and taking pictures of what we see too, because if some of these cameras we have some pretty extreme zoom on them, and sometimes we can go out there and really be able to determine with the camera, maybe it has more power than our scopes are, and we can really go and see, oh, okay, that one doesn't have brow tines. Oh, that one's broken off, so it normally has brow tines, so that's maybe not a coal. Maybe the ones that are the slick 6 is slick 8, and we say slick when there's no brow tines. It's our own little verbiage about that, but that's something that we try to make sure that we're identifying the right animals, that we're being ethical. We're practicing before. I think, speaking of ethics, like we said too, we go out there and we're making sure we're sighting in our rifles. That's a rule at this ranch and both ranches that we hunt out with our family, is that we go out there and the first thing you do is you make sure your rifle's on, because you want to be able to make sure that you have that confidence that your rifle is going to do what you want it to do. I've definitely had some times before where I've pulled out my rifle and all of a sudden I'm not hitting that 10-inch, steel plate, and it's, oh, what's going on? Well, maybe you're something got bumped up or whatever. We load a lot of our own bullets and we've kind of dialed in. So on some of these rifles, unless something gets bumped, it should be set from one to another. We're kind of having it in the cases, putting it in our safes or whatever, but we're not really bumping it around and driving around with it, in our trucks or whatnot, to where it shouldn't be off. But you check it every single time.
Yeah, and George, another reason why we sight it, so we don't want to hit an animal in a spot that doesn't drop it, or if you hit it in a good spot, it may run 30 to 50 yards max, and then it's going to drop. But if you hit it in an area where it's not a kill shot, that animal's wounded, and you may not find it. It may run 150, 200 yards, and you don't find it, and it dies later. So that's another good reason we sight in these rifles.
Absolutely. We don't do all these, hours. I mean, probably hundreds of hours we put in for this moment, and we are making sure we're doing all those things possible so that when we're putting that shot on, we know where it's going to go. We know that we're going to put the animal down as quickly as possible, be as humane as possible about that. Because we don't want anything to suffer. And so, yeah, this is an exciting time of year for us.
Well, this is the first night. Again, we're mentioning we just got here. Danny, you're sitting at a place we call drop time. What are you most excited about sitting there?
Well, I mean, a lot of the areas we hunt, and George may have mentioned it on his previous podcast, but there's been a lot of work done out here. They were drilling for oil, and so they opened up a lot of areas. So our shooting areas are wider and longer. So I'm looking forward to seeing deer. At drop time, it's been short shots. It's been maybe 75-yard shots. Now you could shoot 150, 200 yards in certain places out there. So I'm a little nervous about that. I'm older now, and I want to make sure I take a good shot. So, but you can see a lot further. I know where George is hunting tonight. You can talk about that, George.
I'm going to be out in color, and just to kind of to rewind there on we had an oil company come out here, and they wanted to see if they could drill, and they call it the Serpentine Belt here in Texas. And they drilled down to 2,200 feet. They didn't find anything, so they pulled up stakes and left and went on to their next place. It was kind of a wildcat to begin with. But one of the things we did is we traded some things with them as far as they wanted to be able to use a lane that was going to be the quickest for them to get to the oil area that they were going to drill in. And so I went by one of the roads that we didn't really want them to travel on. We had a plan in place that they were going to put their own roads, but it was going to go through a lot of hilly areas, a lot of creek beds. And so they kind of negotiated with us the ability to use that right away to get to that oil site. Well, it ended up benefiting us in a major way because the road that they had cleared down, it went through the bottom of this creek, and they ended up building up the road. They kind of scaled it back to where it's easier to get in and out. Before, you could like bottom out your vehicle. I mean, just high center it because it was just there's all the rain that comes down through there and washed out. Well, now they've cleaned that up. And the other thing we did with them is we negotiated having 40 to 50 hours of clearing. So there's been a lot of different developments over the years where we've cleared shooting lanes, we've cut new lanes in, we've expanded them. And so they had a dozer operator out here, and I went ahead and made some maps for him and showed him what we wanted cleared. And so on color in particular, we have a whole new shooting lane that goes up to the edge of this berm for what we call Donut Pond, because from the satellite images, it just looks like a donut, and named after our oldest daughter was way into donuts at the time. And so we were like, it's Donut Pond. We got to name it, right? And
George, tell them also that the name color is not like black, blue, yellow, and red. It's COLOUR.
That's right, because the very first hunt that we had in there was with my buddy from Canada, and they spell color and a lot of other words all funny up there. So we ended up naming that color in honor. And the other part was my buddy Mark Pendleton, who was hunting there with us. He's the guitarist and singer with the band Bad Son from the show we just played, and we'll be putting out some videos and some podcasts kind of highlighting that show too. Recently, we had a big reunion gig after not playing for 11 years, but his first time out here, he hunted in there with me when we first put that stand up, and he's colorblind. So it just seemed like perfect.
Sense. Yeah.
And we've got another one called the Third Eye Blind Wonder for Stevie Wonder. We got the Blind Spot. We got some tongue in cheek names over here for some of ours. But that particular one, color, used to have 3 lanes. There's one sitting forward, and there's probably about 160 yards away is a corn feeder. We have it surrounded by some low hog fencing to keep the hogs out. And then there's a lane on the left and a lane on the right. Lane on the right, we kind of started clearing and mowing back to where we could get it. I think it's about 275 yards. The one on the left was probably about 150, but now it's connected to another open field. So that shot can be up to like 400 yards. We cleared some brush, I guess, probably maybe 4 trips back, so that we expanded our view forward down this road in color. We added probably about another 50 yards or something like that. So that one's probably about a 225 yard shot.
I was thinking about that. We these shooting lanes that were opened up, and instead of being 100 yards to 150, they're now 200 to 250. So most of the animals are going to be crossing that far away, are not going to be stopping to eat corn. They're just going to be crossing.
That's right.
So we need to be watching those long shots, because you're not going to have a lot of time.
That's right.
If one's crossing up there. Now, of course, at the feeders, they're going to stop and eat.
Yeah.
But which makes it a lot easier for people like me.
Us too. But that's and to that point too, what we did is we came in here. We've got a shooting range. It's right by the house. So we dialed in there, and the rest of the property that where we're hunting is kind of back in. We kind of have like it's about 50 to 60 acres kind of a rectangle in the front of our property. And then it goes back, and then we have, a few hundred acres behind that. So we're we're hunting in that back little, 300 acres there. And, we did not go and drive around today. We're not putting out corn in the roads. We're going to see what comes to the feeders or what's crossing. Now, tonight we might go and drop some corn for tomorrow morning's hunt, but we just wanted to come in here, and especially being in the rut, and just try to be, minus our firing of the rifles to sight in, just try to be as silent and as stealth as possible and not disturb what's been going on, because no one's been here in about a week in that back pasture. Obviously, we have family that lives here and stuff, and so they're driving around and things too, but no one's been having a lot of hunting pressure and everything there too. So as far as where we're going to be hunting, it's been, probably about a week since anybody's driven through there. And that's going to be a really key thing, I think, for us to kind of sneak up on that area and, quietly get into the blind and be as stealth as possible, because we're not going to be disturbing that. As you're driving around, a lot of times, these deer are kind of running off. They might be going on a neighbor's property. But we try to be as quiet as possible beforehand. And I think that's going to be pretty key for us today.
Yeah. And lastly, my spot's really interesting. There was no clearing in that area in terms of some of the recent activity or what's been done by a bulldozer on this ranch, but it tucks itself in between a major creek and a drainage to that major creek. And you're kind of in a really interesting pinch point where the way you're sitting, there's a road that's right along the blind, and then you're looking out towards a big open field with a few lanes cut towards it. And so I've always really, on a map, loved this spot and loved to sit there live as well too, just because of that idea of the way deer tend to travel, on not the highest point, but not the lowest point either. And in a big flood, like that area does get flooded. So, it's kind of at a elevation where you're not the highest point, but not the lowest point either. And it's a pinch point area. And so it'll be quiet over there. It normally is. And then all of a sudden you just have, deer crossing from left to right, just sort of moving from one area to the next. And
right, the gray ghosts, man, they just show up. Oh yeah, so you never know what you're going to see there too. And I think that's and where you're hunting is called Wonder, and that one is you see a lot of travel kind of behind the feeders and stuff too. And they don't always stop at the corn feeder, but there's a huge travel corridor through there. So there's always deer that are coming.
Has everything
through.
to do with those creeks too.
Yep,
I think
absolutely.
And absolutely, two of the biggest bucks that have been shot on this property were shot at Wonder. I think you shot Black Beauty there.
Black Beauty was there. Yep.
And my son Steven shot a 9-point, a big deer.
Oh, that was huge.
3 years ago here. He's got that mounted in his house. And Wonder's a great place to hunt. I think where you're going to see probably more deer, George may see tonight at Color. Now, again, I've said at Color and seen nothing.
Yep, same here.
But you never know, because these deer move. They never stay at the same spot. So one of us could be lucky tonight, and the other guy can say, I didn't see a thing.
Yep.
So I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah,
regardless.
Either way, right?
Sure,
yeah, right,
sure.
So, and it's at drop time. We have a pond nearby. We call Walden. I went to school up in New England and stuff, and spent some time in Walden Pond actually. And so it's kind of transplanted the name there. But at Color, we have the Donut Pond, and we have some water sources over by the creek beds where Wonder is. You got water, so we have some areas that are going to pull them in, and we try to kind of bring our focus to those areas that, especially when it hadn't been a ton of rain here recently. We've had a little bit, but some of those ponds that we have are dried up. The one by the house, it's dry. And so any kind of water source that, obviously a lot of folks who hunt, that's pretty key. They're going to be coming in there, and that's where they're going to get their water. So coming to and from is a good chance for us to see something. Well, fellas, I'm looking at the time here.
I'm loving it.
I think
do this.
we need to get our butts out
Getting
there.
them stands and see what we got coming.
All right. Well, we'll come back. Hopefully we have some success stories to share later on this evening.
Excellent.
All right. Cheers. All right, we are back right here. I am George Blitch, and I'm here with Matthew Mitchell, and we are concluding our opening hunting trip for the year, our rut trip here in Central Texas, and we have some mixed results.
It was hot. I'm still sweating right now. Cold front's about to move in, and we were about to leave the ranch.
Crazy. It was 85 degrees. We're literally sweating bullets inside the deer blind. Now we saw some decent action, but it was all sporadic. And man, one thing we found out is there is just so much corn that's still on the ground, and you can walk through certain areas along the creek bed and you can just hear it. It sounds like it's raining. All the acorns are falling right now. It is acorn season for the animals, I think.
Also, I think when you have a weather system, major weather system that's moving in, that will change basically the cool and dry air from where it's been humid and hot for the last 2 weeks. You know, I assume because it's the rut, the bucks are with does in these areas where they bed, where there's lots of acorns and
lots of shade.
Lots of shade. That's right. But it was cool. I mean, there was definitely some moments of rutting behavior. There was definitely deer that we did see. I saw a few doe that were mature, but they had babies with them, and then we saw some bucks, but they weren't quite the right size and all that kind of stuff. But it was a lot of fun.
It was great. I feel like it's like the perfect kickoff to the hunting season. You know, we got another trip planned. We'll be doing a podcast there from our place in South Texas. And the deer there, they're just bigger. I mean, you know, we're seeing some out here that they almost look like greyhounds compared to some of those monsters. We switched over some cameras. They have cellular cameras at both places. And we were looking at some from South Texas. And I mean, it's just like night and day difference the size. I mean, it is what it is, you know, but it's
the vegetation down there is different.
It
and
is.
The wildlife really flourishes.
Absolutely. And, you know, when we go down there, that's a big hunt for us to fill our freezers. I mean, literally last year we had to spend about an hour Tetrising all the different coolers to be able to fit all our animals. We ended up coming home with 17 animals. Some of those are small game, but that is the trip. You know, you get more meat on those deer, and you know we're looking for them here too. And in fact, we were trying to get a doe, or you know a buck. We were trying to get some some deer meat for our buddy Mark, and he was poised and ready to come pick it up. You know, we had like the paperwork. There's a transfer if you're someone else is picking up your meat, so we had the transfer paper ready to go, so you could be legal and go drop it off at the processor, and it just didn't work out. But it really did feel like it was the kickoff. Like I'm very excited. I'm very into the zone right now.
Oh yeah, and the particular blinds that we were sitting in especially in the mornings, there was just a nice breeze, and like this morning, it was really relaxing, and you really could settle into the place and really expose yourself to what it is that we're here to do, which is to not only hunt but like be in this environment, be surrounded by nature, and kind of get away from, we both live in big cities, as we've said before. And so it really did the job there for sure.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you too, because you hunted color, and this first time you've had a sit in there that you got to see the new shooting lane and the expanded lanes. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was really great. There was a area off to the right. It's basically a road that goes to another area called Wonder, where there's blind and feeders over there as well. And you can see beyond the road into this field, and I saw some deer moving there along the tree line, and this new lane where they were headed towards, you could actually see them continuing their path and kind of ducking into the tree line over there on the next lane over. That's new. And that was a really cool experience, because you always wonder where the deer went. Are they coming towards you, or are they going away from you? And now you really get to see that. And it's picturesque. There's a really beautiful oak tree down at the end where there's a little pond that has a levee surrounding it, and the grass is just growing in like this little 4-inch blades that are, I'm sure they're really sweet to all the wildlife, like the deer. You see the deer eating them, and so it's just like this bright green lush.
It's like golf course green. Like it's like beautiful grass.
Really beautiful. And then there was a road down to the left that now has basically been cleared into a new field that meets another field, and that's about 300 yards. And so it's a really neat spot to sit, because the place became much bigger all of a sudden.
You saw some action back there in the left there, that new area.
If it wasn't for these cuts,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd seen half the action that I saw today.
And that's what, I mean, I love that just for the observational standpoint too. Now, you know, we're both equipped to take a shot at 300. So if there's a hog, there's a deer, whatever it is that's out there that, you know, we're confident, we've practiced enough, you know, we're continuing to expand our range of comfort. I mean, I was in Beast, which there's 2 shooting lanes, one 475 at the back, the other one's 455. And I had the most steady rest, and there was deer at around that 420 mark that I was like, I feel very confident about taking this shot. They didn't stop. I couldn't really identify them well enough, you know, and as far as like age class of the does, and I didn't know if there's any babies in tow too. So I was kind of like, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, but let that pass. But I really was surprised at all the times we've been expanding our range, like how that didn't feel like that far. And I mean, I got some good magnification, you know, but the steady rest, and we kind of did some things. We cut some wood to have some better rests within the deer blinds, because some of these are like 4x6. You're kind of sitting on one side because maybe one side gives you more vantage points. The other one, maybe the sun's in your eye, you don't get to see a lane, whatever it is that, you know, how we're positioned. But we got some rests and we got some ideas for building some like kind of, you know, shelving that you had talked about today to be able to have a little bit of a better place to get your rifle steady. But I, you know, when we get in these blinds, one of the things we're doing is we're checking to see, hey, if we're on this side, what's the best way to be able to shoot the opposite side? Do you use the chair back as a rest? Do you have something else that you're putting across, you know, a 2x4 that you're being able to steady yourself on? And you get in there and you get yourself situated, you know, especially when it was like 85 degrees out and it's super hot. Nothing was running at the time. That's when you figure those kinds of things out. Okay, now I'm here. Oh, this is what this is. Okay, the sun's over there. Okay, if it's in your eyes, you need to sit to this side. Whatever it is, get in there and, you know, at least I highly suggest, I'm not telling you to do it, but, you know, get in there and figure out what is going to be most comfortable. Pull your rifle up. Okay, if something's over here, what's it look like? Is there something in your way? And then one of the other things we did was take a bunch of notes on all the shooting lanes and, man, we got this tree that's leaning down. And we would take video and texts and things to each other, or, you know, notes on our phone. And we can go back later on and clear those. And even if it's at nighttime, we can clear those because we know, okay, there's that big one. Okay, yep, that's the one. We got to knock that out. And then all of a sudden we have an extra 40 yards width vantage point because we've cleared that out.
Yeah, we keep it trimmed throughout the year. So when there is that one that sort of leans over a little too much, it's pretty easy to maintain. You were just speaking about the spot where you have that 400 plus yard shot, or several of them, and that place is called Beast. And I was sitting there last night, and what was really cool, that really got my heart racing, and it was just one of the neatest things I've seen in this part of Texas, was a melanistic doe, and which means that sort of gene or that sort of trait in the deer, opposite of albino, would make that deer really, really dark, like black. And so I'd never seen that before. And she comes out, you can tell that a buck was chasing her, and she was about 2.5 years old. So definitely not a shooter doe yet, but the buck that was chasing her also had a really beautiful 8-point rack and looked real healthy, but he was also a little bit young, probably like 4.5, somewhere in there in terms of his age. But that was a really cool sight to see. And that's what's really unique about this little area that we're in, are these melanistic bucks and does. And today's a special day for you, George.
It is, man. It's Veterans Day for one, and I and salute to all the veterans and thank you for your service. The thing that I have a lot of family members who have served in the military and in law enforcement, and you know, I think about them a lot today. And the main one that always comes to mind is my grandfather, Colonel Harry Blitch, who bought this ranch with my dad back in '75, and he's since passed. And it was 6 years ago today. It was 2016, November 11th, Veterans Day. Came out here to hunt. And I'll kind of go into the story maybe in more detail later on a podcast, but there was a melanistic buck that we had quite a history with for at least 5 years. I wrote a story about it called Black Beauty Gotten a few hunting magazines and stuff too. And it's on the website on sonofablitch.com and also on the other website, mapmyranch.com. Plus, Black Beauty, you can just search those, it'll pop up. But we had this long encounter with this buck, and we would see part of it on the game trail camera, right? And then one day, Jacob Spradling, our good buddy, was out here doing some work on the ranch, and he went and sat up in the deer blind, and he saw Black Beauty and he didn't take pictures that night. He told me about it. He ended up staying an extra day to go in that same blind and wonder blind, and he got some amazing pictures, and those are featured in the articles as well. And he sent those to me, and that night I was like, Meg, oh my God, look, I showed my wife, like, hey, look at these pictures. This is the buck that we've been talking about for years. And, I was like, oh man, I'd love to go see him. She's like, well, what time are we leaving in the morning? I was like, oh my gosh, I already love you, but I love you so much more now too. Thank you. Let's go. Packed our youngin' and we hopped over here, and it was an afternoon hunt. We got here about, I think 12, and I didn't drive around the ranch at all. I went and parked over by a Third Eye blind, kind of, and walked in there to wonder. And, I get up in the deer blind, and I see these two big black masses off in the distance. And, I got to wear glasses, and I'd have them on and threw them up and grabbed my binoculars, and it's two cows, man. And these neighbors' cows, they had gotten on here. In fact, we don't even know whose they were. They ended up getting taken out by the folks who work with the county and the sheriff's department there deals with that, and wildlife or animal control there. And they came out and got them out eventually, but they were around for like a year. And so I ended up chasing them off, like running with my hands, waving and trying to, shoo them off, not yelling. And of course, I'm probably dripping sweat because it was super hot. And I was like, sort of get back to the deer blind to get back up. And I'm like, I probably just ruined all my chances. And lo and behold, 2.5 hours later, after I saw like every single shadow turned into a melanistic deer, it's like for like an hour. Oh no, look over there. Oh, nope, it's just cactus. I saw those tines coming out, and I had another little pro tip is always turn your magnification down on your scope. I had mine set up thinking this thing was going to show up at like 125, maybe 130 yards or something like that, just where it had been the last 2 nights in a row, and had been crossing the same game trail and running around. And this is peak rut time, so it was probably, chasing some does. And that thing came out at 33 yards. I put my rifle on it, and all I could see was just the black mass, and I couldn't tell one end from the other. And so, what's happening? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's not the scope cap. It's my dumb asses needs to back that off magnification. And got it right. It was just about to take off, man. I think it had maybe heard me or something, or maybe smelled me. Who knows? All right. I just think like the ranch out here sometimes. But yeah, I ended up shooting that. And to my knowledge, it's one of the top, as far as points wise, melanistic bucks that has been taken in the U.S. Not that that's the trophy on the wall. The story and the trophy and the thing for me is that we put in years of effort on this ranch, planting different, wildlife, seeds for the wildlife. We got natural forbs and grasses that we planted out here. We had this huge project, cleared 27 acres, had some that was already cleared. And we had just kind of nourished this land, man, and done so much to it. And I kind of talk about that in the story. But we did a lot of work with the USDA agent here, the NRCS program, EQIP program. And it was incredible, man. Like, we got to see that deer get bigger throughout the years and catch little hidden glimpses of them. And, they don't come out a lot. And into the feeders, it was, a lot of times some of the other deer don't want to deal with the melanistic, some don't really care, I'm sure its own mama is hanging out, but a lot of times, man, it's just, they kind of avoid them. I don't know. It's, it's a different color altogether. I mean, we'll show some pictures side by side, and some of the ones that Matt saw, it was cool. He got to, Matthew got to see his first in the live. We've seen some other ones, got some video footage of some other ones over the years and stuff too. It's a little more common in these, like, there's 7 surrounding counties, and there's more here than in the rest of the United States combined. So whatever it is, the mineral, a lot of creek trait. Yeah. I talked to this the doctor over at Texas Tech, this doctor at, I forget what his name is at the moment, but he studied melanism in animals, and we talked at length about, he asked for the story of this one and kind of some pictures and some data, and he said that a lot of times in creek beds is a big flourishing area because it's a lot cooler out there. That dark skin, they're not going to be out in the middle of the sun, so a lot of places, a lot of shade and stuff that they seem to habitate well, which is this kind of, region of Texas. But back to that, what I was saying with Black Beauty is, we nourish the land. I got to go out on Veterans Day, thinking about my granddad the whole day, thinking about what he put into this land, how he tried to do a lot of things to benefit the wildlife as well, and how it just kind of, I don't know, man, it came full circle. And that happened to be, even though I'd been hunting here for 8 years at the time, that was the first deer I ever took on this property. And kind of like we talked about too, when we're in South Texas, those deer are a little bit bigger, you get a little bit more meat, and so I'd always kind of looked at that for that purpose. And, a lot of my friends and family take deer here too. It's a great spot for them. And there's some really amazing ones that have been taken here too over the years. But, we're mainly meat hunters, and, but that Black Beauty is, it's mounted. I got a shoulder mount. Yeah. Everyone's like, you get a full body mount? I'm like, no, I don't even know what those cost. I'm afraid to find out, but, I got a shoulder mount, and, every time I look about that, I think about my granddad, think about all the hundreds, thousands of hours of work that we've put into this place and benefiting the wildlife, the habitat, leaving it better for future generations, thinking about those 7 generations down the line. And, it was just a very, very special deer. And it just so happened to be yesterday when we were picking out blinds, you're going to be in color. And I was like, I'll go wander. It'll be near you. That way you can kind of see, what's in that little region. I was like, what do you know? Here I am this morning, kind of meditating on that while I'm in the deer blind, thinking about, oh man, this is 6 years ago today. That's where Black Beauty was. And, thinking about my granddad and, my cousins, a lot of folks who have served, man, and just thanking them for all the freedoms that they give us and the abilities that we have to come out here and do this kind of thing, man. I mean, my hat's off to them, all first responders, everyone, man. I got nothing but love for those people and respect.
Absolutely.
I think everyone needs to, I encourage everyone to kind of think about a little deeper about what those people do for us and how they allow us to have our way of life here in the United States. And, first responders all across the globe, man, those people, they put their lives on the line, and service men and women, hats off to you all.
Absolutely.
So, not just veterans today. I think about all this, everyone there. So thank you all. Oh man. Well, I mean, we're going to have to get packed up here and
that's right. And so
skedaddle back.
The next sort of podcast this style will be down in South Texas.
Yep.
Different environment.
Totally.
Different conversation.
Yep.
And it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's going to be a blast. And you're not hearing Uncle Danny right now with us. We're going to come back and have another podcast with him sometime soon. It was fun to kind of get him on here and have time at the ranch with him. He's an amazing man, great worker, great family man. And so, yeah, you'll hear his voice again. But for now, George and Matthew, we thank you for listening, and
thank you.
Stay tuned for more hunting tales.
Yes.
Y'all take care. Happy Veterans Day, everyone.